Netflix releases a lot of new content, and one of the biggest anticipated movies to be released soon is the Don't Look Up movie. It looks like a seriously unique movie. The Don't Look Up movie is going to change everything, and here's why. Puts Netflix on top spot as content creator. In a time when some networks are tightening their purse strings and not making as many new shows and movies, Netflix has doubled down on creating original shows and movies. During the last year or two, despite the difficulties that the pandemic has created, Netflix has made more new stuff than ever before. They've made movie series that are only available to stream on the network, loads of documentaries that give unique insights, and even some of the most popular television shows today. And now they've started to go into the genre of making big budget blockbusters that are filled with some amazingly talented actors. So they've really started to build the reputation as one of the best networks for original content that's around at the moment. What is it all about? It's a movie about some low-level astronomers that have realized that a comet is heading to Earth, and only they realize it. This comet will destroy life on Earth. So obviously, they start to warn people about this impending disaster. They warn everyone up to the highest levels of authority, but the only problem is that no one is willing to listen or believe them. Now, I must say, a few years ago, it might have sounded like a super far-fetched plot, but in the last few years, it started to make some sense. Not only is the world filled with fake news, so we are all more cautious of what we believe, but humanity has proven that they won't really listen to scientists when they give a report. Okay, obviously I'm kind of joking, but it does sound like a pretty intriguing plot that can be a lot different from the normal run-of-the-mill disaster movie that we've seen. It might change this genre of movies in the future, and since we've only seen a short teaser and the description is pretty vague, there are so many directions that they could go into. I can't wait to see the movie to know exactly where they take it. It is a dark comedy. What we do know is that it's classified as science fiction black comedy, so not the action or adventure that you would expect it to be. From the little bit of information that we have heard from behind the scenes of Don't Look Up, we can expect a lot of dark humor. It will be a movie that is funny and surprising at the same time. The writer, director, and co-producer, Adam McKay, has a pretty incredible track record when it comes to dark comedies. He worked on some really massive comedic shows like Saturday Night Live as a head writer, and he had a hand in writing some of the most popular comedies ever. For example, he worked with Will Ferrell on movies like Anchorman and Talladega Nights, so it's safe to say that he has quite enough experience to pull off a film like this. He even worked with the actors to make the movie even better, and to make the characters work well with what they have envisioned. This collaborating spirit could make for a really great movie that could become one of the best comedy movies of the year. And the dark comedy aspect could help to give it that edge that might make it stand out above the rest. It has some massive names. Normally made-for-television movies, or in this case, made-for-streaming movies, doesn't attract the biggest names in Hollywood because most of these stars expect a much bigger payday than most networks can afford to pay. They stick to cinema-released movies. But that has started to change during the last few years. The pandemic has influenced this trend too, since most of the movie theaters were actually closed for much of the last year and a half. And even where theaters were open, many people were afraid to go to a movie to watch in a closed room that is not well ventilated with a bunch of other people. So some movies decided to wait to release their movies, and others decided to find alternative ways to get their projects in front of the public eye. Of course, streaming services have much bigger budgets now than many of the traditional networks, so they have a lot more buying power. This movie is a really good example of that fact. It's packed full of some of the biggest stars in the world. Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence play the two main characters, the two astronomers that are trying to get people to listen so that they can save the world. But they aren't the only big names in the movie. They might not even be the biggest stars that are featured. Meryl Streep plays the president that they go to warn, and her son is played by Jonah Hill. Then there are characters played by Tyler Perry and Timothée Chalamet. Cate Blanchett and Himesh Patel are both credited too. Plus, Ariana Grande, Matthew Perry, and Chris Evans, among a bunch of others. We aren't sure just how big each role will be and how much screen time each of these big names will get, but it's safe to say the lineup is packed. Massive budget movie. With all these stars being featured, you just know the budget had to have been massive. Even to just get Meryl Streep to show her face could cost millions. And there have been rumors that Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence might both be getting the biggest paychecks of their careers for this movie. Keeping in mind mind that Leo is already one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, and that he has been in some of the biggest budget blockbuster movies ever, then this equals big bucks. And the budget doesn't just go towards the cast. Getting a movie made in the world we live in right now also equals a lot of COVID protocols that cost extra time and money. Plus, this might be a disaster movie, so we aren't sure just how big the scenes or the action will be. Will there be moments like in some of the other end-of-the-world movies that has massive pieces of special effects and CGI? These can quickly cost a lot, so that adds even more on the budget. It seems like it's safe to say that Netflix went all out to make this movie really epic. If it does include scenes that are end-of-the-world types of scenes, then we can be sure that the newest and the best effects available will have been used. Even in some of Netflix's big-budget shows like The Umbrella Academy, the special effects are really incredible. So I really can't wait to see what they'll do with such a massive movie. When will it be released? The short answer is that we don't know yet. It was set to release in 2020, but it had only started filming when everything was shut down and they couldn't complete the movie. I'm not entirely sure how things would have worked out if they did complete it when they had originally planned, because right through 2020, some of the biggest names were still joining cast. So it might have had a much smaller and less impressive cast list than we were expecting to see when it does come out. It started filming again towards the end of 2020, but it was once again delayed for a short time because Jennifer Lawrence got injured on set. There was a controlled glass explosion that didn't go entirely according to plan and injured the actress. Luckily, she wasn't hurt badly, and they wrapped the principal filming of the movie in February 2021. Now, we know that there is a lot of post-production magic that goes into making a movie and putting it together to what we see on our screens as the final product. Sometimes, post-production can take longer than actually filming did, and that might be why Netflix has not released a final date for when we get to see the movie. At least not yet. They have only said that they still hope that the movie will be released before the end of the year, and that's the goal that they are working. But things could still go wrong and push the release into early next year too. We hope that doesn't happen and that we still get to see it in this year. And since there is so much hype surrounding the movie, we really hope that it doesn't disappoint when it finally does come out. It can firmly establish Netflix as a movie giant. Netflix has become a streaming network that has really set itself apart when it comes to making great television and documentaries. But with this last bunch of movies they've started to release, they're quickly establishing themselves as giants amongst the feature film creators too. The plan was to release a new and massive film each week, but then the pandemic hit and that wasn't possible anymore. So some movies will be released closer together than they would have been, but I can guarantee fans won't be objecting. Netflix has such a diverse set of movies that are still set to release this year or have already released that there truly is something for everyone. They have cute teenage love stories and series of movies and dramas and even a few superhero comedies. And now with Don't Look Up, they're also set to do well among the fans of dark comedy or adventures. They've covered all of their bases, and they've made sure that fans don't need to go anywhere else to find something to watch. And during a time when there are more streaming services available than at any other time in history, it's important to make sure that you stand out above the crowd. Streaming networks like Disney Plus is using familiar content like the Marvel Universe to attract viewers. So giants such as Netflix need to create incredible and unique new content to compete. And this is just what they have done with Don't Look Up. If it's as good as it is said to be, it could just change everything.